All right, everybody. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday. And for the first time, really, since the season ended, I would say, and I know there have been moments of things kind of slowing down and things getting to the point where you could relax a little bit. This feels like the first time we're just going to be chilling out for a while. It feels like we're going to get about a month and a half or so, maybe a little bit less, but about a month and a half of not a lot happening, and it's nice. I appreciate it. I think that's a good thing. I think that we all need the opportunity to take a breath, but I don't want to just not post anything for a month and a half. So we're going to do something a little bit different, something a little bit more frivolous over the next couple of weeks here. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. Basically, I'm going to do a little series here to kind of celebrate and commemorate the team winning the Super Bowl last year, because here's the way I look at it. Last year for the Seahawks was definitely, unquestionably a successful season. It was a successful season by any metric because they won the Super Bowl. The last time the Seahawks had what I thought was a successful season was 2022, because they exceeded expectations and made the playoffs when everybody thought they were rebuilding. So I did a video series that offseason after the 2022 season, ranking the best, most valuable players on that team. And I believe I did the top 10, and I also did some honorable mentions. So this year, we're going to be doing it again. So over the next few weeks here, we're going to be talking about the most valuable members of the 2025 Seahawks in terms of players only, by the way. But we're going to go 12. We're going to be doing 12 because that's the right number for something like this, because this wasn't just a good season or a successful season. This was the season that you spend your entire life hoping that your team has, right? They didn't just win the Super Bowl. They won 14 regular season games and got the 1 seed, and were, I would say, pretty clearly the best team in the league through a good chunk of the regular season and the postseason. So here's how I'm going to kind of celebrate it. Here's how I'm going to kind of do something that I might not do in a different offseason. I'm going to talk about the guys that I think were the most valuable and the best and just generally the most impactful for this team having the success they did. So like I said, we're going to count backwards from 12 to 1. So this video today is going to be my number 12 player on this team, and we're going to just work our way through 11, 10, 9, 8, on and on and on. All right, so let's get started. My number 12 player is going to be Charles Cross. Charles Cross, the left tackle for the Seattle Seahawks, is going to be our first subject of evaluation here. He's definitely a player that gets lost in the shuffle a little bit because he didn't quite stand out the way that some other Seahawk players did. And generally speaking, offensive linemen don't stand out that much anyway unless they're doing bad things. Like, in a little bit of an unfortunate way, somebody like Anthony Bradford does stand out more than Charles Cross. But there are a few things going on here. For one, Charles Cross plays an incredibly important position. Other than quarterback, left tackle may be the most valuable position in football. It's left tackle and edge rusher probably competing for second place behind quarterback. So I'd probably go edge rusher, but either way, Charles Cross is playing one of the most important positions in football, and he played it at a good, strong level for 2025. If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the Prize Picks app, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. Prize Picks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on Prize Picks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So Download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So that's one thing to consider here. What he's doing for this team is very valuable, even if he's not on the level of a Tristan Wirfs or a Trent Williams or one of the truly hyper elite left tackles in football. He is still very valuable because he's playing a position that counts for a lot. And the other element at play here is that Charles Cross was kind of in a prove it year last year, and people wanted to know what we had with him because 2024 was a complicated year for Cross. He played very well, but he also allowed a lot of pressure and a pretty good amount of sacks as well. And a lot of people, myself included, believe that had to do with the offense we were running, where we were basically a pass first, pass second, pass third offense because of Ryan Grubb. And I thought things would get better under a run first offense. And it did. If you take a look at Charles Cross's raw pass protection numbers for 2025, they were a massive improvement. He allowed 28 pressures in 14 games, I believe it was. And that was a season after he allowed 47 pressures in more games, more snaps. I understand that. But you can see how much better he was at preventing pressure when he got to play in a balanced offense, even as a terms of percentage or pressure allowed percentage, however you want to kind of quantify it. And he went from allowing 6 sacks in 2024 to 2 in 2025. So you put him in a normal, sane, reasonable offense, and suddenly he became a very good pass protector. Maybe not elite. Again, he's not on the level of a Tristan Wirfs level left tackle, but he is very good, and we needed his services. And he also cleaned up pretty well in the postseason. He allowed a total of 4 pressures across 3 playoff games. I know he missed some of the San Francisco game because we pulled him in garbage time, but he was overall very clean in the postseason. His grades slipped a little bit from 2024, but I don't think that reflected any necessarily poor play on his part. He continued to be, at the very least, a decent run blocker. He's never going to be stellar in that area, but overall he was good, and he got better as the season went on in that area, which was really good to see because that's when we needed to really run the ball effectively. And we did when the season got down to that point. So I look at Charles Cross, and he missed a few games at the end of the year, right? He missed the last 3 games of the regular season, and Josh Jones stepped in and played quite well. But I think the body of work here at a very valuable position is still worthy of being the 12th most valuable and best player on the 2025 Seahawks. So that is going to be our first pick on this list. And his play was good enough to warrant a pretty significant contract extension before the season even ended. We decided to take care of it before his 5th-year option even kicked in. So we liked what we saw, and I think this fan base is going to continue to like what they see going forward. Hopefully we continue to get the player that we had in the postseason, who I do think was probably the best we've seen Charles Cross play in his career so far. What he was able to do across those 3 playoff games was really impressive, and I definitely think that if he can build on that, we're going to have no complaints. Maybe he will never become an all-pro level left tackle, but he is a big net positive on this team. And as kind of the first building block of the post-Russell Wilson era, because he was our 9th overall pick after trading Wilson, he has come together quite well. PFF, by the way, overall graded him a 73.2 last season, which I know doesn't sound amazing, but it is good. It is solid. And again, the position he plays is very valuable. And if you go to the postseason, you can see how much better he got. So remember, he wasn't even 100% healthy in the postseason last year. If this is the Charles Cross that we can count on for the rest of his career, and maybe that's a little bit too optimistic to say, we are talking about a lifeline for a team that has had issues solidifying many positions on the offensive line, but at the very least, throughout the Russell Wilson era, mostly fielded good left tackles with Russell Okung and Dwayne Brown. So having somebody that we can count on for the next decade, potentially, like Charles Cross, is very important. All right, so that is my pick for the 12th most valuable player. He would have been a little bit higher if not for the fact that he missed 3 games, I think. But even with him missing those 3 games, the impact of that feels kind of muted because we are still talking about a guy who was there for us when we needed him the most in the playoffs. He played his best football in the postseason, like many other players that we're going to talk about in this ranking list. And I think that counts for a lot here. So Charles Cross is my pick for the 12th most valuable 2025 Seattle Seahawk. And we're going to be doing number 11 tomorrow, unless something big happens later on. So let me know what you guys think. And that is my rundown of Charles Cross. Very good season. It was the breakout season that we needed. Maybe not necessarily in full the one we wanted, because we wanted him to become a hyper elite tackle. We didn't get that, but what we got is going to cut it. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More stuff coming.